On the 18th of November, 1978, in a remote jungle settlement in Guyana, 918 people died in a single afternoon. They were not killed by a foreign army. They were not victims of a natural disaster. They were ordinary Americans, teachers, doctors, parents, children, who had followed a man named Jim Jones into the jungle and never came home. Most of them drank the poison willingly. And here is what nobody wants to sit with. These were not weak people, not broken people, not stupid people. They were people exactly like you. And something got inside their minds so completely that dying felt like the right thing to do. The question isn't how Jim Jones did it. The question is, how does anyone do it? And whether it's being done to you. Nobody joins a cult. That's the part that makes this so difficult to talk about honestly. No one wakes up one morning and decides to hand their mind over to someone else. No one chooses to be controlled. What they choose is belonging, safety, a community that sees them, a framework that makes the chaos of the world feel ordered and meaningful. The control comes later. Quietly. Through 6 specific psychological mechanics that Harvard psychiatrist Robert Lifton spent decades documenting across every high-control group in modern history. 6 mechanics that have appeared, without exception, in every cult ever studied, and in beliefs you may already hold. The first is love bombing. The moment you enter the group, you are overwhelmed with warmth, attention, and belonging. You are made to feel chosen, finally understood. It feels genuine, because to the people doing it, it often is. But it creates an emotional attachment that makes everything that follows feel worth it. The second is isolation. Slowly and deliberately, the cult reframes the outside world as dangerous, corrupt, or lost. Friends who question become threats. Family who worry become obstacles. The group becomes the only place that truly understands you, which means it becomes the only place you trust. The third is thought-terminating cliches. Every cult develops phrases, prayers, or rituals specifically designed to interrupt doubt at the moment it surfaces. The mind reaches for a question, and a practiced response shuts it down before it can complete itself. Over time, the member stops reaching for questions at all. The fourth is us versus them. The group is always surrounded by a world that doesn't understand it, fears it, or actively persecutes it. This siege mentality binds members together through shared threat. Leaving the group stops meaning losing a community. It starts meaning defecting to the enemy. The fifth is unquestionable authority. There is always a figure, a text, or a doctrine that sits entirely beyond criticism. Questioning it is not disagreement, it is betrayal. It is evidence of corruption. The authority is total, and the consequences of challenging it are absolute. The sixth is manufactured dependency. By this point, the member's identity, relationships, moral framework, and understanding of reality all run exclusively through the group. They are no longer capable of functioning outside it, not because they are weak, but because the group has systematically removed every other foundation they had. 6 mechanics. Every cult. Every time. Now here is where this becomes something other than a story about cults. Lifton documented these 6 mechanics in extremist political movements, fringe religious sects, and personality cults. But the deeper you look at the historical record, the more uncomfortable a question begins to form. What if cults didn't invent these mechanics? What if they simply borrowed them from systems far older, far larger, and far more socially accepted, and used them without the parts that make them palatable? Because love bombing at scale looks like a community that wraps its arms around the lost and tells them they have been found. Isolation looks like the idea that those outside the belief system are spiritually incomplete, fallen, corrupt, or simply not yet enlightened. Thought-terminating cliches look like repeated prayers and affirmations that occupy the mind at precisely the moments doubt might otherwise surface. Us versus them looks like the saved and the unsaved, the chosen and everyone else. Unquestionable authority living not in a single man, but in a text declared perfect and beyond the reach of human criticism. And manufactured dependency so total that a person's entire identity, community, and understanding of reality runs through the group, and only the group. You already know what that sounds like. The question worth sitting with is where exactly the line is, between faith and control, between community and captivity, between belief and programming. That line exists, but it is considerably thinner than most people are comfortable admitting. Here is what makes this genuinely frightening. You don't need to be in a cult for these mechanics to be operating in your life. You need only belong to something, a community, a belief system, a group that gives you identity and a framework for understanding the world. So run these 6 mechanics against every group you currently belong to. Which of your beliefs have you never been permitted to question? Which communities make leaving feel like losing everything? Which phrases do you reach for automatically when doubt surfaces? Most people who hear those questions will immediately think of someone else. But if you sit with them long enough and honestly examine your own patterns, your own behaviors, your own loyalties, you might find something you weren't expecting. That you're already inside one. Jim Jones didn't build something new in that jungle. He took something ancient, something already proven across centuries and continents. He simply removed the parts that made it socially acceptable. And 918 people died because by the time they saw the machinery clearly, it was already too late. That is the frightening part. Here is the empowering one. Every person who ever got pulled into a high-control group, every person who ever lost years of their life, their relationships, their identity to a system designed to consume them, not one of them thought it was happening while it was happening. You just spent the last 8 minutes learning exactly what they never knew. You know the 6 mechanics. You know how they escalate. You know how they make leaving feel impossible before you even realize you're trapped. That is not a small thing. So the next time a group asks for your belief, your loyalty, your unquestioning trust, you'll know exactly what to look for. And unlike 918 people in a jungle in 1978, you'll see it coming. If this changed how you see the world, there is more waiting for you. Subscribe to Beneath Thought, and we'll see you on the other side.